Welcome to our podcast, It's About Payroll. We're your hosts, Brian Escobar and Walter William Duncan III. Whether you're new to the payroll game or a seasoned veteran, we have something for you. Welcome back, folks, to episode 118. It's About Payroll. Today we have a special treat for everyone. We did a Swapcast with the folks over at HR Imperial 2.0, Pete Tiliakos and Julie Fernandez. What an awesome episode. We really hope you enjoy. But before we get into it, it's a word from our sponsor. Summer has arrived, and with it, the perfect opportunity to plan your dream vacation. Whether you're envisioning a relaxing beach getaway or an adventure-packed journey, TimeTrack Go is here to ensure requesting and approving your time off is hassle-free. TimeTrack Go simplifies vacation planning for employees with intuitive mobile app. Easily check available vacation time, submit requests, and manage everything on the go. For supervisors, approving requests is as easy as a single click upon notification. Everyone deserves a break, and TimeTrack Go streamlines the process for all. Start your stress-free vacation planning today with a 14-day trial at timetrackgo.com. That's TimeTrackGo.com. Or you can call at 888-321-9922. Happy vacationing. Let's go. And let's get into this Swapcast episode with our folks over at HR and Payroll 2.0. Here we go.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of HR and Payroll 2.0. I'm Pete Tiliakos, and as always, I'm joined by the legendary Julie Fernandez. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you very much. And I think people can already tell that we're doing something new and freaky special today.
Yeah, we got guests and some folks I've been dying to have on.
That's right. And not only are we do we have guests, but we're in video, which we normally are not.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking, I think, about a whole concept that I have been oblivious to in the swapping, the podcast swapping area.
Yeah, Swapcasting. Yeah, so we are Swapcasting with the It's About Payroll guys, Walt and Brian from It's About Payroll. So excited to have you guys, man.
We're glad to be here. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, I got to see you. We got to meet for the first time at PayCon. I don't know if Julie, if you bumped into them. We did at the party, so we couldn't talk much. It was like a club, right? We couldn't hang out too much, but it was great to see you guys, man. I heard it was your first time. I got a lot of questions about that. But so welcome.
Thank
you so
much for having
how
us.
is the show, man? We're big fans.
Likewise, the show is great. One of the keys for us has just been consistency, doing it every week. When we started off, it was like two people downloading, and me and Walt.
We started on. It was on Anchor, right? On Anchor,
that's
Spotify.
Right. It was on Anchor. We were the same way, by the way. We were audio first, and we went audio for 40 some odd episodes, and it wasn't until Gerard told us early on, you guys need to do video.
Yeah.
And we were just like, oh no, like it was a whole nother vulnerability that we kind of like, right?
Really taking off another clothing.
Y'all don't have to worry about the hair either.
Just
imagine.
Speak for yourself. I got it. I had to get it ready before we got on this episode. I was like, I got to look good. We're going to be on video.
Right.
Do I wear a hat? Do I not wear a hat? I don't know.
Exactly. All those things. So
I swear I did.
A while. And this is cool. Congrats that you guys have done it. I think it will change the game for you.
Yeah.
It definitely helps in getting the word out and folks like just seeing little clips and the content you can create from a long form video. I wish you all the best with it. Like it's so great to see other folks doing it. I've listened to your show and
thank you.
Like, heck yeah. And then one of the things I got from listening to you guys is Pete is like high energy and like Julie's calm as can be. Just like comes in and smooths you out, man.
There's that awesome balance.
It's
man.
Great.
If you only knew the storm that's going on in my brain. Oh man, it is a payroll and HR future storm is what's going on in there, man.
Good, because I got some good payroll and HR questions for you.
Okay, all right. Well, first, we always ask our guests a question. We ask them how they got into payroll, why they stay. But I want to start though and back up a little bit, and I want to hear the origin story on your show, how you guys met. Like, tell me about that a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah, we met 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, 2016.
Yeah, 2016.
Yep.
Brian was the manager at one of the places that we both worked, and I had came in for an interview, and he interviewed me, and ever since then we kind of just clicked.
That's
We had,
cool. Yeah.
we talked about a podcast back then,
Yeah.
but we just it never materialized.
Yeah.
And a couple of years later, we linked back up, and we were like, "Hey, man, we need to go ahead and start this and do this for real." And that's kind of where it started from.
I love it. I love it. Hey, look, it just all you need is a little bit of an idea, and I feel like I talk to people sometimes and they're scared, right? Like, I don't know, no one will listen. I'm like, just do it. Like, just put one after the other out there, and people will. It'll eventually come, and they do.
Yeah.
Pete and I have a bit of the same story. Like we've always wanted to work together. We've been across the table from each other. We've been like, almost at the same company, and then not again at the same company or in the same space. And finally, we're like, let's just do this. I mean,
Julie has negotiated. For those that don't know, Julie has probably negotiated at TPI. They probably, if I don't know the number, but I would say that of the deals that I worked on, the mega HR outsourcing deals at IBM and TCS that I solutioned, most went through 90+% went through TPI for support, and almost every time we were working with Julie as the sourcing advisor. So that's why I call her the legendary Julie Fernandez. She truly is legendary. So.
I don't know.
If there's a deal,
Brave
she knows
new
about
world
it.
now. So
well, that's cool, man. That's cool. So look, I want to start with some. How'd you get in payroll? Yeah. Why on earth do you stay? So Walt, maybe we start with you.
Okay, so unlike most people, I actually chose payroll.
Oh,
what?
Yeah,
You're a first.
Story, yep.
Yeah,
you are a unicorn, my friend. You are a unicorn.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I told him.
So I took the ASVAB to go to the military.
Okay.
And I had a few jobs based on my score, I had a few jobs to select from, and one of them was payroll. The other ones really didn't appeal to me. I didn't really know anything about payroll at the time. I was just like, you know what, that sounds like a great job. I like numbers, and stuff. So that's the job I chose, and that's kind of my story.
What branch of service?
I was in the Navy.
Okay, I was in the Marines, man. I actually worked in the first shared service center in the Marine Corps, auditing. Paid entitlement HR records, right? And certifying people's pay, and so that's how I learned payroll as well. So interesting path. We both, but thank you for your service as well, man. Appreciate it.
Likewise.
No, wait. Why do you stay though?
Yeah, why do you stay? What the hell?
What the heck is wrong with you?
Can't slip on that. Can't, the heck? Not so fast.
I stayed in it because I found that for me, it's the connections with the people. And at first I didn't realize that, but as I got more involved and more more deep into my career, I realized that, I loved being able to make sure that people are getting what they need, and making sure that their livelihood is not impacted by anything that I'm doing. So there's a lot of power that's in being in payroll and HR. And sometimes people don't realize that. And so it's not about control in that terms of power, but more so being able to be impactful. Yeah. So that's kind of why I stayed in payroll, and I've been able to have a successful career, and ended up at this place now with Brian and with the podcast and doing our own thing and having everything that we have. So it's been a blessing, man. That's why I stayed with it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you sticking around. To be honest with you, the military probably helped with that. I know it's what kept me in the game. But what's funny is I think people think that payroll is just this repetitive, boring process, and the reality is there's so much action going on because the process happens every day. There's some things that change about it here and there, but the reality of it is the organization is constantly moving, and like a shark, right? It's always swimming. It's always going somewhere, and you have to be able to move with it. And I think that's what keeps payroll action packed, if you will. So I love it. I love it. How about you, Brian? How did you get into payroll? Why on earth are you sticking around?
I guess back in 2003, I think is right when my first daughter was born. So right around 20 years ago. Right before that, I graduated from college, and I took a long way around. Right, I didn't go right after high school. Yeah, kind of worked first, and was like, this is for the birds. I don't want to break my back. I was doing contracting work for my brother, so I had some entrepreneurial would help, and that's what got me there. Right, I used to do payroll for my brother's business.
Okay.
Yep. but we just had 1099 contractors, that kind of just submitted their invoices, and I was like, oh, how many hours you worked, and I cut the check to their business and, called it a day. So I knew how to do math, and I thought that was payroll. And when I graduated college, I was like, crap, when I got to do something with myself. I'm about to have my first child, and just kind of like, all right, you putting all those keywords on your resume and on the searches and there was no LinkedIn yet. It was just kind of, I think monster.com was the biggest and it was like one or two others. So it was like, get those keywords on your resume, and payroll was one of them. And a company called me, gave me a shot at being a payroll coordinator, and the rest is a career. The reason I stood really was because it's halfway through that career, I realized I was good at it. And
that's cool.
And it's like,
found your calling.
We're a special bunch, right? Like I realized that I was good at it, and like we're unique in that manner. And that's what kept me in the game. And I think that's when me and Walt just kind of decided to double down and say, all right, we're all in on payroll. And how can we build this, right? And we've been developing an app. We have an app for it, and that's what
cool.
We're a long way from showing you people.
What's the app going to do? What's the concept?
It basically manages exception payments.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. But we've hit like roadblocks with developers and things like that. So we started the podcast, and then the podcast kind of took off and got some action, and we filled the gap right when no one was filling the gap. I mean, look at content now, and you look up authors. There's only 2 payroll authors right now that have written payroll books that aren't textbooks. And it's Anita Latink and Bart Vanderstorm. And that's it, right? So like I would love to see you write a book in payroll space, and Julie, like and like Bart said, we all have a different angle and a different opinion to give on payroll. So it's like, I can't wait till that content is filled. Like, we're helping fill the gap. And I love being a part of that. And like, Walt and I just found something where we didn't think we were. And fell in love with that part of it, right? And now it's such a cheat code for us, because like, doing the podcast makes us better at our job. Doing our job good makes us better at the podcast.
That's great, man.
So
that's great.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, what about you guys? We want to hear you. Our listeners want to hear about you all.
Hey, who said that getting into a numbers thing can't lead to a creative outlet, right? I mean, like, would you ever think? But
Exactly. Ladies first, Julie. What's your?
Okay.
How'd you fall in? Why'd you stay?
So I went to school and got a French major. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just wanted to do international business. And then when it was time to get a first job, the guys that called me had a benefits administration consulting book. And all they were really looking for were kids with the highest grade point averages, who had a personality and who weren't, meek or afraid to interact and could lead some stuff. And so I fell into that HR consulting group, essentially. And in the beginning, it was building shared service centers when benefits outsourcing was kind of an early thing, and nobody thought you could actually do that stuff in a shared service center capacity. So building things like the GM National Benefit Center and the GM Retire, really big, for big companies. And very quickly, a lot of my colleagues stayed in that kind of benefit circle, and I carried it through to the folks that were trying to do HR and payroll and talent and other things in shared services. And about 8 years later, I went to the advisory side, and I've been working with client journeys ever since. So so that's how I got here.
The legendary.
Why'd you stay?
Yes.
Oh, why did I say? I stay because it's just such a dynamic space, as you guys were saying. Whether you're talking just payroll or HR and payroll, there is nothing templatized about this. You can't rinse and repeat the same stuff for every client. Everybody is in a different place. They got a different way to get to their efficiencies and their ideal state. And to me, that's like, I have that ADD of being able. I want to take 80 journeys a year, and I just get to do that as an advisor, and I love it. Love it.
That's awesome.
How about you?
Yeah.
Pete?
So my story is actually very public. Last year, last year at in Denver, I gave a speech, a keynote about my career. And actually, I spent my entire career trying to escape payroll, only to find that it was my superpower. It was like, the path to all the things great that were in my career. So as you heard, I started in the Marines. I went in the Marine Corps, and when I did the same thing, I took the ASVAB, and I thought I was going to be a grunt like everyone else, an 0300. It was the Gulf War. I just assumed, that's what Marines do, right? I didn't know there was anything else in the Marines. And so I didn't speak to any other recruiters. The Marines were the first one to talk to me. And I thought, well, shit, if I'm going to do this, I might as well go to the best one, right? So I did. And my recruiter looked at my scores. I'll never forget this moment. He changed my life. He said to me, you're not going in the grunts. Like, you're not doing that. He said, you're way too smart. You're going to do something different. He said, pick from this list. And I didn't know any better. So I just put down 3 things, and it turned out that administrative MOS was where I landed. So I was a service record book clerk in 0121. And what I did is audited HR and data records in what turned out to be the very first shared service center in the Marines. I had no idea what I was doing at 18. I got out, and I happened to go back to Florida, where my grandmother was and where my family was. And it just so happened that the largest PEO in the United States was in my town, and I went to work for them. And then I learned HR and payroll at scale against the PEO world. Many, many small and medium-sized businesses went through transformation with different new technologies we were upgrading to, and then found myself at the ripe young age of 7 or so, 8, leading payroll transformation and shared service design for the Walt Disney Company, and did that for about 3.5 years before I went into like big transformation like Deloitte, IBM, and then eventually found my calling, really, and that's researching and advising and just championing this industry, man. So yeah,
that's awesome. Pete.
But I never would have. I would have told you if you would have talked to me along the way. I would have told you I'm just trying my hardest to escape this. Right? I thought that I was being typecasted. I'll never be a strategic HR leader. No one will take me serious. Right? I even went and got an HR degree. I even got an MBA because I thought, no one's got, you look, let's be honest, man. Payroll's been treated less than for a long time.
Yes.
It's still going on. I've said this on this podcast. I'm payroll famous, and I still feel it, and I could show you ways it happens. I won't mention those because I think it would out some things, but it's true. And that's a massive systemic issue in this world that is holding a lot of organizations back. And a lot of that is perpetuated by way of ignorance. And it's an ignorance, not in disrespect. It's an ignorance and not knowing.
I'm thinking like, okay, here's where I'm supposed to mild-mannered Julie is supposed to be pulling it back.
This is my show. We will do what we want.
Yes, I love it.
Listen, if someone's going to say it, it needs to be me. And I don't care if it offends anyone, because it's the facts. And if it offends you, then you're probably treating payroll like shit, and you need to stop. Because you don't understand what you're really missing out on, and it's just insanity watching some of these companies do what they do and limp along with these payrolls, and then their people are burning out and they're stressed, and come on, man, it's just crazy. Meanwhile, there's this immense skill down there that's just being overlooked, and data. Anyway, I'll shut up.
No. It's a perfect segue.
Soapbox.
I'm trying to kick him under the table, and it's not working. Pete.
We can identify with that, Pete. We share some of those same ideals, some of those same passions and thoughts, and those talking points that you spoke on.
Yeah,
it's very real for us, because there's been so many times where we haven't had a seat at the table when we should have had a seat at the table, right?
Yeah,
and so I totally agree with you.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate what you guys do, man. Thank you for what you do.
Well, I think the time is coming. The job, the role has evolved dramatically from the time when it was you can run a calculator and calculate a rate times rate times hours, to something that is exception based and so focused on all the intricacies that can go wrong and not all the stuff that automation takes care of. And so it's been like a total flip flop of what you would think payroll is to what skills and capabilities people have to have today. And I just think it just, the rest of the world hasn't caught up with the notion of what really has to get done to make payroll happen right.
Yeah, 2020 was, I think, a real punch in the gut for a lot of folks that had weak BCPDR.
Oh yeah.
I think the BCP
what does that mean,
program. business continuity planning
Yep.
and your
Yep.
data recovery, right? I think there were
That's
a lot of
absolutely right.
companies that didn't take that serious and
Yep.
didn't have the infrastructure and got caught,
Yes.
and really paid the price for in
Yes.
a lot of ways. So big wake up
Yeah.
call for sure.
You know
For
what's
sure.
as I look through, so I really want to congratulate you and thank you for doing the payroll profession confidence
Yeah.
index.
Yeah.
Like,
Thank you.
come on, how amazing is that for us as payroll folks? Because and by the way, this is like my go-to when I need to talk about something on the show. We
Cool.
start the
Yeah.
show with a pay news update, and if I can't find anything fresh I go right back to this. It's so long, like that I'm gonna be on
Yeah.
it for a
Please.
while,
Yeah.
and
Thank
not
you.
and not long in a bad way, long in a really good way because it has such great information. And one of the things
Good.
that I marked today was slide 10 and
Mm-hmm.
11, like or yeah, the one that was talking about how supported where they are with technology.
Yeah.
They're cautiously optimistic about the future, and then there's another one about how like leadership is bought into payroll or not,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're still at that halfway mark or less than in our organizations like being actually behind us.
Yeah.
And it's it's like exciting and scary all at the same time for payroll, right? Julie is
Yeah.
laughing because because it's like, wait a minute, oh my gosh, look at all these cool things that are happening. But then you and Julie probably sees it more than us that are kind of at one shop where
Yeah.
these organizations don't have it, and they're like, wait, what are you doing still?
Yeah, I get to
You're
see
what?
every flavor of messed up you could possibly
Oh my
imagine, and a
Oh
gosh.
lot of
yeah.
flavors of good too, or at
Mm.
least we hope it's good by the end. But oh yeah, there's
Oh
so
yeah.
many ways that things can be
Yep.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Still fax and timesheets over somewhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what?
I have vendors that I work with in some very long tail locations, emerging marketplaces where there's very small, or excuse me, emerging markets where there
Mhm.
are small populations normally of companies footprints, and they will tell you often their biggest competitor is actually Excel.
Yeah.
They're just
Wow.
replacing Excel a lot of times. They're not really going up against anyone in that location. So
Wow.
that
Wow.
tells you something right there, man. There's a lot of there's a lot of payroll getting processed on
Yeah,
Excel.
and
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We
yeah,
had done
scary.
a technology poll a year or two ago, and
Yep.
that was the number one thing. Excel. I use
Yep.
Excel. I use Excel. So
Yeah,
it's crazy with
yeah.
that. It really
Hmm.
is. It really is.
If people
Again,
only knew.
Yeah, but
exciting and scary. Go ahead, Walt.
but
Yeah.
that kind of speaks to what you were talking about, Pete, about how there's still that resistance to the change. There's still
Yeah.
the resistance of doing things the status quo and
Hmm.
keeping
Yeah.
things as
Hmm.
they were because people don't. I don't know if they necessarily don't want to progress, but it
Yep.
might just be to the point that they're just so used to doing what they've been doing for so long.
Oh yeah. Well, I
Well,
think there's two big factors too. Julie, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Number one, I think if it's scary, so don't mess with it, right? Especially if you've seen it, Julie. There's a lot of these organizations that bastardize something like a PeopleSoft, and they are not going to let their hands off of it because they live this pain of customizing, if you will. And
hmm
the other thing is, I think that happens. Payroll pays a success tax constantly. And what I
what
mean
does
by
that
that
mean?
is they're put in a position to fail constantly. Here's the lowest options. Here's the least technology. Here's no resources. We don't even know what you do. We think you
Mhm.
do bookkeeping, so we're going to give you minimal help. We are not going to invest in you. But then every week they pull the rabbit out of the hat, and no one knows because they go like electricity. They go the light switch and it comes on. There's no problem. There's no
Yes.
problem. So payroll pays for that. Well, what do you mean you need another system? It's working fine. It's a success penalty in a lot of ways, and it's got to
Wow.
be a very miserable conundrum, in an organization that's unwilling to put money into, or just not even money. You read that report again, it wasn't money they're asking for. They're asking for education. They're asking for
I saw
skills.
that. Yep.
Yeah, certainly technology would help, but
Yep.
just give them some help. We're losing a lot of people. That's a whole other angle.
Yep.
But yeah, two big issues, I think.
So I have some fun ways that I see those as I go across multiple clients or folks that are asking about things and might become a client at some point in time. The first is, we're so focused on getting things right, like 100% right in payroll. It's like our DNA,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
so when you get a new process, a lot of times you'll find that they're still doing the old one because they just want to make super 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 sure,
yep, yep.
and so the process change or you keep shadow processes, or in many cases, some of these large companies, you would be surprised, they move to their new cloud platform, but they're afraid, they're terrified of touching payroll.
Yep.
So they just have the old engines sitting back there and they connect it to, a Workday or an Oracle, as name your platform, right? Your new cloud platform. And they have the legacy engine sitting back there performing all the same thing with the same limitations, because it's terrifying to think about moving it, which is
especially when you don't understand it and you fear it, right? That's part of the problem. HR has to start coming to the table and understanding what payroll does versus assuming that they know better than payroll and then have no clue what they're doing. And it just makes it worse.
And then down market. So one that I've come across very recently, which is just fun, all kinds of fun, to explain why you might not want to do this. But you have a company that comes into maybe one of your smaller market, technologies like a pay, whatever, right? Name your whichever provider. And the client has been used to using like just a document, like a form and a document workflow to do things. And they're not ready. Like they can't let go of that. So instead of taking the basic capability of tracking your employee demographic data and then having that flow through to paying them, they bugger it all up and they do a whole bunch of things offline, and then somebody enters it or keys it back in to payroll, to make, it's like, why on earth would you ever do this? This is crazy. And it's a fear factor, right? Or, if one thing is wrong and a payroll person can't explain it, they're going to do it 6 different ways to make sure that it is never wrong.
I had a leader ask me recently, how do we get the payroll people into payroll and the employees into payroll? And I was like, usually through the ATS, all the way at the beginning when their employee is entering for the application. This is employee self-service, and that's where we're going to start them, all the way at the ATS, all the way at that, all the way through there. And it was just like, wow, folks are still doing that dual environment, like where they're putting somebody all the way and then payroll re-enters them in payroll. Like, no, it's not payroll. Like me and Walt have had that conversation so many times in the last few years that it's not 2 different systems. It's the same system. And look, I sing Anita's praise because in her book she says it. Payroll starts as soon as the HR change ad is made. As soon as that piece of HR info gets put in, that's when HR starts. Payroll starts. Right. Like, and again, I sing her praise. I quote her all the time because she articulated it so well, because it's not 2 different systems anymore. It needs to be one. Right. And I get why. Right.
And in some cases, it's the time system, because they don't wait for the HR system, right? And so it's like in the location, like, oh man, I better build this guy so they can log time, and they don't even exist yet as an employee somewhere. It's like, okay, there's a few process issues here.
Time's the heavy lift in a lot of companies. It's not really payroll. The gross to net, or the gross to net's actually easy if you can just get the build up taken care of, getting people to put their time, going through your CBA, whatever that is, compliance. So very much. That's true. Or very, very, very true. So I want to ask you guys about, I think it was Walt, right? Did you move to Atlanta recently?
I recently did, yes.
Yeah. All right, ATLian right here. We got to get together, man.
Nice. Let's do it.
Yeah, and you got to come join Ainsley's group over at the payroll association chapter here. Sorry, I always messed that up. The Greater Atlanta, I think it is, or Greater Georgia.
I actually joined recently, so I am
good.
Part.
All right.
Yeah, I just have to meet everybody and make meetings. Yeah.
All right, man, that's a great. There's a lot of great payroll folks here. We got Jim Cole, the payroll artist, is in town. Ainsley, of course. Jen Kozer, the new head of the VP of product at Workday, lives here. She's potentially going to join, I believe. I try to pop up every now and again. So we got a great group.
Jealous. You guys,
Julie, you gotta get involved. You got to get involved.
Julie, are you in Atlanta too? You're in Georgia?
I am not. I'm in Detroit mostly. Okay. But then I'm just starting the snowbird thing down to the Gulf side of Florida. So I just got my kids out of the house, and so
congratulations.
Taking some life back, baby.
There you go.
Dude, that's funny. I just moved from Ypsilanti.
Did you? We were neighbors. Yeah. Oh, dang.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, we got to get together. We'll have to have
I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I'm in South Florida. There is no. Okay. But I'm in Broward County specifically.
Yep.
And I was just talking with Laurel at Payroll Org. Like we were
Yes.
talking about this at the conference.
Go Panthers. She's
About
probably so happy right now.
oh my God, she's
Yes.
probably like bursting.
Shout out.
Yeah,
to
we
Laurel.
tagged her on LinkedIn. We were like, "Ooh, we know somebody who's really
Oh,
happy."
I bet she was living it. Yeah, yeah.
She we were talking, actually it was after we connected, and we were talking about the chapter in Florida, and she's like, "Oh, well, there's one in Miami." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Laurel, I don't live in Miami." I'm like, "I'm in Broward County, you know." And she's like, "Me too." So I actually need to kind of keep connecting with her to see if we create a chapter in Broward and Palm County.
Okay.
Because we're like in the chapter desert between Broward, for real, between Miami and Orlando. There's like no chapters.
The Everglades.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. There's some Crocs
Everglades chapter.
out
You need an
in the
Everglades
swamp
chapter.
doing payroll. Like
All
that's
right.
it.
Yeah, I'm from Florida originally.
Oh, you
I
really?
grew up there.
What
Yeah,
part?
I'm born in Duval, and then grew up in Pensacola, and then met my wife down in Sarasota, Tampa, where
Oh
Julie's
man,
kind of
nice.
headed down to. So Julie's
Nice.
part Michigonian, part Floridian, I think.
There we
I'm
go.
just
Michigonian, what do they call
confused.
them?
Yeah. Nice.
You follow the weather gal for a couple of years.
A chapter lead is in your future there, Brian. Maybe you and
Yeah,
Laurel
for
need to
sure. It'd be a
team
chapter
up.
of one for now, you know. But yeah,
You and Laurel.
I
I'm
bet
all
we
for
can
it.
find you a friend or two.
Yeah, we gotta
Tons of
find.
people in Broward.
We
No,
gotta
but those are
find
great.
somebody.
I mean, this community here, seriously, in Atlanta is
It really
great.
is.
I've had so many great payroll meetings down. People who pop into town because of the airport or come through, and we get to have lunches. So we got to get together sometimes, man.
Yeah.
You guys had
cool.
a great presence at payroll conference, like with the
Yeah.
shirts and stuff. Like they were deep. Like it was like,
Oh,
man.
the blue, yeah, they got
the
and
blue
Jim
shirt.
did us some nice artwork with the peach and all that.
Oh yeah,
That's
Ainsley,
nice.
she's locked on. Hey, they were chapter of the year last year. I think they were runner up this year. Man of the year, payroll man of the year last year, I believe it was. So
That's crazy.
Wow.
she raised the bar. She got
You're
the
in good
bar
company,
very high. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
shout out
awesome.
to them, man. But hey, I want to ask you guys about, like, we talked a little bit about just the way things have changed, right? Since you started payroll, at least 10 years now, each of you.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It's changed, right? I've watched it change in that 10 years, just studying and advising in that area. But like, what's it like now? I mean, what do you see, and what gives you hope or get you excited, I guess, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we've learned a lot through. So again, it's exciting and scary all at the same time, because we see now through the show a lot of the technology in the pipeline, right?
Yeah.
But we also see through leaders we talk to and clients that we have and jobs that we work for, like the disparity of it. Like, it's not caught, we're still using spreadsheets for some things. I talked to a recent leader that doesn't have time and attendance. They're just on paper still, literally just using paper, and they have a big enough, group. I had a buddy that was running that still runs a warehouse, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we don't have direct deposit. My boss just calls it in." And I was like, "What does he use?" He's like, "ADP." And I was like, "Dude, please get direct deposit. Like, you guys tell your boss to call ADP and tell him you need direct deposit. Like, are you kidding me right now?" And sure enough, he pushed the envelope, and a couple months later, he's like, "Brian, we're on direct deposit." I was like, "Well, thank the heavens." Folks were getting live checks, and I mean, it was a good amount of people at the business. It's not 4 people. So
Yeah.
we're seeing, like, we're still living in two worlds, right? We're still living in this past that needs to get caught up, while all this amazing technology is out and becoming available to us. So it's like, whoa. And exciting for me, because I want to be part of the conversation of bridging that gap.
I'm thinking, like, I love the show names that you guys give your shows, and I'm thinking, I'm just hearing an episode that you guys might do on the payroll haves and the have-nots.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that.
Thank you for that.
Yup, I'm writing it down.
Still in that one, Julie.
Go right ahead. That's why I lofted it out there. I'm thinking you'll get to it before Pete and I would ever.
I know, right?
So
you guys hit on a lot of subjects too, man. I have to applaud you for that. You're hitting on, like, compliance, you're hitting on news, you're hitting on, like, leadership, personal development. I love it, man. I love it.
That's funny you say that, because when we initially started, we thought that we were going to be limited in the amount of shows that we could do. We thought that there was
payroll, right?
We're going to run out.
But kind of going back to your question, like, payroll's ever changing. The landscape is always changing. And as far as what I've seen change during my 20 plus year career, is that I've seen a lot more manual processes become automated, which is great.
Yep.
Because I remember the days of like having to pull everyone's timesheet, printing timesheets, going to the printer, going through hundreds and hundreds of pages, multiple clients, stuffing checks, doing all that work that some people are still doing now, getting timesheets via fax, like Brian spoke to earlier. All
Mm-hmm.
these different things now that are automated, which made it easier, and there's still more to come, right? There's still more things to come. AI is going to greatly impact how we process payroll. AI is going to help us catch those
Yeah.
errors and identify those anomalies and those payroll issues a lot faster than we could. And so it's going to help us out. It's going to be those tools to help us, right?
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. But I think I've seen it change. The automation has been the biggest thing for me, and I think that another thing for me, personally, is that I've seen more payroll pros like acknowledge who they are and accept that, hey, this is who I am. I am great at my job. I should put myself out there more and
Yep.
not be afraid to that and speak up more on behalf of payroll. So I've seen more of that as well, and I'm glad
Yeah.
that we're doing that in the payroll industry.
Yeah, agreed, man. I think I've been saying this. So Julie and I really we led the executive summit. There was an executive session that they had for the first time. We're excited to hear they're going to continue to run it at Payroll Org
Oh,
Congress.
nice.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
it was nice. It was about 50 or so executive level folks and several of the big four partners that came in to talk automation. Nick Day was in there, myself, Julie. We kind of kicked things off. But one of the things I've been really trying to communicate to the payroll world is you have to start leading the organization and stop being led by the organization.
Yep.
And that's scary, right? That's a skill, and that's not what payroll has been used to.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the episode we did with Anne-Marie V, where we talked about making your own table, taking your data, bringing a couple of data points that are very impactful to your direct leader, and beginning to have a conversation that can shape from there. I think
Yep.
it's little steps like that. That's how you're going to lead, because if you don't, you're going to continue to be led around to what you're doing. You're not going to. You do have to fight for yourself. And I'll be the first to admit, when I got into consulting, longer term after being a practitioner and after being in the vendor space as a consultant there, I realized I had to sell myself better, right? And one of the things that made me wake up to was how many skills I had developed as a payroll leader that I was just like, oh, I know that. Oh, I did that. I did that before. Yeah. And it was getting me onto projects, and I was thriving a lot better when I was able to articulate what I could do, because people don't always think of payroll. Oh, you can project manage? Oh, you can do this? Yeah. Like we have to do it all. Like, what do you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. And I got to know all of HR as the payroll leader, right?
Pete's heard me say before, I just think that makes payroll such a sweet spot for Gen Z, right?
Yeah.
Who likes to have their hands in everything. And, I don't know how we get the word out or how we convince folks, but if you don't want to do the same repetitive thing over and over again, that's what people think payroll is. But in fact, that's not at all what it is. And from payroll, you could touch so many different parts of the organization in HR or in finance. And you just have you're in the middle of this hub that you can navigate a career around.
Yes.
And I think that's what people who've been in it for a while start to really appreciate about it is, I could do anything with this. I could go anywhere.
Man, imagine all the badasses we have in payroll right now. Yes. Folks like you, folks like Laurel, folks like whatever, anybody, name all of them, Max.
All of them.
Just go down the list of practitioners, right? Superstars. What if, no offense to anyone, but most of those people, because we ask on this show, and a lot of them have been on here, how did you get into payroll? Why do you stay? Just like we asked you, most don't start here. They fall here. What if we were having the best talent in the world start here? What if we were getting those? Like, what then, man? We would be dominant, right?
Rule the world. Here comes
we could take over the world, man.
I gotta get Pete a Valium.
Yeah, get it. You can't do anything about it. This is natural energy. This is natural Red Bull right here. Zero caffeine. Zero caffeine.
I love
it. Just vitamins and working out.
I love it. That's great, Pete.
Yes. No, I'm crazy, man. I'm crazy.
We need this place because we need folks to feel that it's a community beyond any one organization or beyond any LinkedIn. That this is it transcends all of that, right? And it's a huge community of payroll people.
You know what, Brian? Go towards the last pages in the demographics and look at the demographics of the time that people have spent in payroll, and tell me what jumps out at you on that slide. What's your biggest concern right there? Should be the biggest for everyone.
Let me see if I still have it on you.
Tell me if it doesn't jump right out at you as soon as you look at the demographics of how long people have been in payroll that took that survey. 700 people, 28 countries, 5 continents. Good sample, I would say. Not what we wanted. We wanted everyone.
Not that Pete has memorized his own survey results.
Yeah, anything, but
for real, what do you see?
I don't have it up anymore. You got to
Okay,
tell me.
I'll tell you. Over half of the respondents had more between 11 and 19 years of experience. Wow. And then the next level down was like the 10, I guess it would have been the up to 10 or something. Mm-hmm. So most of the practitioners out there are 10 plus years.
Yes.
Half are 20 plus years. Or I think maybe it was even bigger.
We're aging out.
We're going to lose these people, and they're not flooding into payroll, right? And and then we're in the news telling them, "Oh, don't worry, we don't even need you or HR anymore because now we got AI."
Well,
you know what I mean?
That's one of my problems.
This is scary.
One of the commercials that they have out there. Yeah. One of the P's has a commercial, and there's no offense to the company, but I don't like the commercial because it's like, oh, you could do payroll now. The employee does their own payroll now. Like what? No, this is not sending the right message.
Hey,
they cannot do their own payroll.
I get where they're going, and I think it is the future. But I think it's you're right. The way they're presenting is a little bit interesting.
Yeah, they're still going to need one of us in the back looking as automated and and let's talk about that for a second. Like, where does everybody think payroll's going? Because I feel like for a long time we're not going to give way to AI, and companies are not just going to say, hey, guess what, Walt? We don't need you anymore. AI, Walt, is going to run it now. Like, that's not going to happen for a long time.
That use case is great if I've got 4 employees and it's just me, the business owner. It's not if I've got, 50 people and I've got, exactly, or 100 or whatever. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. But hey, look, listen, they're going down the right path. They're building the right technology. Their marketing is just terrible. They're the same one that had Gwyneth Paltrow talking about employee experience. So,
oh my gosh,
I don't know if she's ever had a job to even have ever been an employee, let alone. So
we're about to get celebrity hate mail now.
I'm just saying,
that would be new for us.
Hey, I'm not alone in this one. There's a lot of other people that scratch their head.
We gotta listen to the show more. He's a rebel. I love it.
That's funny that you said
that. I'm a pane of glass, man. Nothing. It is what it is,
Yeah, we actually did a show, right, Brian, on that very topic about how AI was going to impact payroll. And about how we're aging out. And how we wanted to know how we could attract other talent into payroll. And we even talked about from the education piece, right? It would be nice if there was a degree program specifically for payroll, if we were able to build that out.
Yeah,
right? HR has one. A lot of other people have.
There's not even an associates for payroll, and honestly, it could go to.
They're doing that in Australia. We did an episode on that. The AWCC. I think it's a very bold goal. What they want, the chief payroll officer and all that. There's a lot there to unpack, but I think they're trying really hard to change the attitude. If all that comes out of it is a new attitude and culture towards payroll, as you're right, educated differently, on their own credentials and given the ability to have a different point of view as a profession and an industry, and not just a bookkeeping.
It's a career
subset of whatever. Now it has more power. Now you can have more conversations. We're not going to get all that at first, right? We won't get the CPO. We won't get everything we want. But let's just point in that direction, dream big, and hey, maybe we end up just moving forward 2 steps. That's great. That's something.
That's it. Yep. And I'm happy to kind of stay as that conversation.
Yeah.
Look, we're coming up on time, and we want to play this game with you guys that we have. And
I want to ask you one more thing, though.
Yeah,
you had one more thing. No, really. This is important.
Both of you.
You had Bart on. You had Bart Vanderstorm on. Yes.
Yep.
Great book. I've read it. I digested it at Payorg and PayCon, and we had him on the show there. We brought him here. I think it's a fantastic book, much needed.
Yep.
Tell me your thoughts on just the concept of influence. How are you working on that? Do you feel you're good at that? Do you feel like that is a key piece of what you're going to have to do to kind of?
Well, I think it. Yes, I think
it
goes to what you just said, right?
Yeah.
Stop being led, and we have to lead.
Yes.
Right. And a lot of the things that we said are impact. Like, we have to be able to articulate what payroll is doing, how it impacts the business. And I think one of the things is saying, look, when the folks who are watching the cash register realize that 45% of your revenue is payroll, usually 40 to 50% of your then the conversation gets like, oh, wait a minute, what do they got to say then? Yeah. When you can kind of show ways that, hey, here's how we can save some money on that payroll 40-50%, right?
Yeah.
Then you really start to be, now you have that platform to be an influence, but you got to want it, right? I think that you got to want it. You got to really want it. And I think you said it very well, Pete. You got to stop being led
Yeah. You
and
got to earn
start
it.
to lead.
Yeah. Just do it, right? Sometimes it takes that initiative. It takes going ahead and just doing it, going ahead and being proactive instead of being reactive, right?
Yes.
Go ahead and speaking up instead of waiting to be spoken to, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
go ahead and tell your boss, hey, this is an area I ran this audit, and this is where we're having some pain points. This is where we need to address. Now, if you're not a decision maker and they're the decision maker, keep bringing it up. What, Brian, what do you say? The squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yep.
Keep bringing those things up until they're addressed.
Or tie ROI or dollars to it and watch people go, wait a minute, what?
Exactly.
You can say
right.
what? Oh, can you pull me another report? Come on. Hey, let me tell my CFO about that, and then all of a sudden you start having these different, like, people. I figured that out at Disney, man, in our shared service center. We were like, I was very fortunate to work with some GE executives that were stellar. And they taught me ways of stakeholder management at a very young age, where I was able to show them KPIs, and we were moving the needle. And then they were inviting their friends, and so to speak, their colleagues, like, hey, you need to come look at your business unit. Yeah, because my costs are going down now because I'm working with Pete, and so now they have a vested interest to want to help you help them. And then it makes you look like a hero while you're, so yeah, man, broker those relationships. That's another great part of what I think we learned in that survey, is how important payroll has to lean into their relationships, and the executives are going to be the key to them delivering more value.
I just talked about the partnership last week about, like, what are our key partners in payroll. We partner with HR and finance usually, and like that slide, right? Like, again, man, it's such a great amount of info there.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah. So we want to play this game.
Let's
with
do
you
it.
guys.
Let's do it. All right.
It's just fun,
I love it.
Again, it just gets us. Look, it's this or that. It can be both or neither, one or the other.
Okay.
You make the call. I'm gonna give you 5, and then Walt is gonna finish off with the last 5.
Okay. We go back and forth, or how we do?
So I'm gonna ask you 5, and both of you answer. Your own answers, right?
Okay.
Pretty easy. Look, softball. First one: coffee or tea?
Oh, I'm tea.
I'm tea.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Apple or Microsoft?
I'm Apple. I'm an Apple fanboy all day.
He's an Apple geek. I'm a Microsoft girl.
Fanboy all day.
See?
Yep.
There you go. Excel or Google Sheets?
Oh, Excel.
Yeah, I'm still Excel. Yeah.
Likewise.
80s, 70s. I was born in the 70s, 80s,
Me too.
Grew up in the 80s and 90s.
Dating ourselves.
Gen X.
Last one for me. Yep, me too. ADP or Workday?
Ooh, they're both clients. I'd say both.
Both, exactly.
Can I plug something together? They make up an excellent partnership, which they did strategically level up at Rising last year. I wrote about that. So I'd have to say both. They're both incredibly great organizations, and together they do great work.
I heard that Workday can do its own payroll now.
Well, they always had payroll. They just mostly had U.S., UK, Australia.
I always heard them in conjunction with ADP, like Workday. Oh, but ADP does the payroll and it's
services. Workday can certainly provide the tech. ADP will normally provide outsourcing services, because what happens is, if you look at a number of the mid-market solutions like a Dayforce, a UKG, or any of the pays, services kind of compliance services, at least the tax filing, garnishment filing, that sort of stuff comes with your solution. So Workday does not do services, so they partner with like Alight and CloudPay and ADP and give their customers more of a marketplace to pick from. So yeah, Julie? But I'd say both. Yeah.
Well, so Pete's kind of given a little color to my answer, because as an advisor, I am unbiased across the market. Some clients are going to work, some situations work with one, some work with the other, but I will tell you, both of them are top tier.
Yeah. Okay. So, together, even more powerful, I would say.
Together, you can do a lot of stuff as well.
Last one for me. Payroll or HRIS?
Well, it depends on the context, but listen, I'll die. I'm ride or die for payroll. So
yes,
I'm a both there. I definitely am both.
Nice.
But also a big fan of the HCM tech world. I do a lot of work and research there. So I have respect for everybody. We need HCM in order to give us our data, right? It's kind of like the Marines. We needed a ride. Yeah. We need the boys in the Navy to give us a ride to fight. Yeah. We need each other, man. HCM needs payroll. Payroll needs HCM, man. It's a heartbeat.
We're part of the same engine. Yep, same.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right.
I love it.
Here go
I love it, man.
Walt's got some for us now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right.
So, tacos or pizza?
Man, ooh, I'd probably go tacos. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fernandez. I had to go tacos, don't I?
You don't have to, but
I'm gonna do it.
okay. All right. My next one is science or math.
Oh, science for me. I'm horrible at math. Imagine that, payroll, right? I'm horrible at math.
That's what I
I'm
tell
gonna
people
say
too.
math, but y'all know French and languages and the artsy stuff is more my game.
Okay,
Yeah.
got you. All right. Reality TV or documentaries.
I like the documentaries. I like true,
Yeah.
stories and history. I like history a lot. So yeah,
Okay.
documentary.
Cool.
Okay, so when my husband's around, which is most of the time, it's got to be the documentaries. But if he is gone somewhere else, I flip on some trashy stuff that he would never
What are you
watch.
watching right now, Julie? What are you watching right now?
Oh God, what are we watching? We're watching something. I don't know. It's always somebody fighting and things blowing up. It's got to be the
Yeah.
guy
Gosh.
stuff. I
I
don't know.
haven't been watching
They're
TV
all the
lately, so
same.
I don't have one.
All right. A walk on the beach or a hike in the forest.
I'm a Florida boy. I grew up surfing, so walking on the beach all day. I mean, I appreciate the mountains, but walking on the beach, yeah.
All right.
I'm the opposite. I'm a Michigan girl, so hike in the
Hike in the
forest.
forest.
All right,
Nice.
I love
yeah.
it.
And then my last one is AI or people.
There's more power in people. I think emotional intelligence will always trump any sort of technology, in my opinion. Hopefully, but I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I got to go people. I think you've got to have people to make it all work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yep,
and
I'm the
keep it in
same.
balance.
People
Yeah,
are necessary, but honestly, that's all the more reason why AI we should be talking about because
yeah,
it's to dispel exactly what you were saying, Brian, about the commercials that lead people to think something
Yes.
or that create
Yeah.
this fear that somehow we're all going away and AI is going to do everything. So I feel like AI needs to be the thing we're talking about, but that's because it doesn't cut it on its own.
Yeah.
You can't do
yeah.
it without people.
Absolutely. Nothing's going to happen, especially digital transformations. Like I even wrote that in the report. Like, look, you can throw all the technology and AI you want at payroll, but you've got to have people managing your projects and M&A and
Yeah.
org redesigns and just all the things that get thrown at you that are not processing the payroll, right?
Yep.
Let the AI do that. But yeah,
Hey, so well, I feel like I got to go back to one of your questions about what are
Okay.
you watching right now, and I'm
Yeah.
going to again out my husband in a horrible way. So I was at an event, and we had this dinner where we brought a bunch of work people together. So I tell them you got to be on your best behavior, like you can't be talking about a lot of the super guy things that you get
yeah.
excited about. So they pulled the what are you watching now? What series are you
Uh-oh.
watching now
Oh
around
my
the
gosh.
table? And
Uh-oh.
oh my god, he was struggling because everything he watches is the same genre of stuff. So he picked some benign thing that he really isn't watching at all, and it came. And then next it was me, and I said, "Well, I don't know what he's talking about, but we're
Oh
watching
my gosh.
Dexter."
Oh my gosh. Dexter, yes.
And
A
he
lot of people
was just
watching that.
like
That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it's a good show.
flabbergasted that I would out him like that.
You
Oh,
got him.
that's so
You got him.
funny. That's so funny. Oh my
It
gosh.
is, man. I have such
Dexter's a
ADD. I
great show
can't
though.
make it.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh, you don't watch the whole thing?
I haven't. I just don't watch a lot of TV anymore. I feel like I listen to more podcasts and radio. I mean,
I do too.
streaming and
I'm hooked
yeah,
on podcasts, so I'm always
yeah.
listening to something.
It's my learning. So, and even
Yep.
my comedy and just whatever. If
Yeah.
I
Oh
go
yeah.
for a podcast, yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice.
I love it. Yeah, yeah.
Was that it?
Nice.
Did we do all 5 of yours,
Yeah.
Walt? Or
Yes,
did I
we
miss?
We
did.
did it.
That was
All
it.
right.
That
Well,
was
look,
cool.
Awesome
man. I
idea.
think we're probably coming up to our time. I could sit
Yeah.
here and talk to you guys all day. You get me
I
fired
know
up,
it.
as you
I
can tell.
know.
You guys get me
Likewise.
fired up.
Same.
Likewise.
So,
Same.
We got to do it again.
man,
Yes,
I
Gotta
love
let's
it.
do
do
it
it.
I
again.
love it. I love it. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna swap this out. We're gonna put this
Yep.
on both shows.
Yep.
Where can everyone find you? I'll make sure your links are there. But where
Oh,
would you want
we're
everybody to find
we're
you?
on everywhere podcasts are posted and
Yeah.
YouTube,
LinkedIn,
yeah,
Facebook.
LinkedIn, Facebook. Yep,
Okay.
all over the
Yep.
place.
We'll
Yeah,
put
it's
your links
about
in there, man.
payroll. Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Look,
Likewise.
keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate you. Payroll needs
Likewise.
you.
Likewise.
And you keep spreading the good word, man. You guys are helping. You're helping people, and
Yeah.
I hope we're helping people. I get great
Yep.
feedback.
Yep.
And that's what this is about, man. Just sharing what we know, and yeah, helping the community, man. Payroll by
Yes.
payroll for payroll.
That's it.
Yes.
We love you guys. Thank you so much for
Thank you
having
so
Yes.
Same
much.
us.
here,
Yes.
guys.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a good
Take
one.
care.
Take care.
Bye.
Before we sign off, here are a couple quick things. Don't forget to follow It's About Payroll on LinkedIn and It's About Your Paycheck on Facebook and TikTok.
Thank you for being part of our payroll community, and thank you for being a part of this journey with us. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep going.